Dear friends, deep thinkers, and fellow rebels, it's time to choose a faction. This means you can choose a faction, and there will be an agenda for the faction. Not only the points that you see here will be fulfilled, but you can also vote for an additional agenda. The first agenda I have manufactured for you, and we'll go through these points step by step. For the next agendas, if you join a faction, it should be permanently, right? That's the thing. You can change it later on, but if you choose the leader to be one of the leaders here, which is something that you can do if you're quick enough or if you're a member of the channel, then you can like choose one of them. We cannot rename our revered elder because you cannot rename the ruler. But you can, for example, become the leader of the Scholars of Gaia. So we could rename Pablo Garcia with a name of your choice that I also approve of. And then you'll be the leader of the faction for the time being until that guy dies. So what is the consequence of that? The consequence of that is that you will have one more vote. So as a normal guy here, not one of the leaders, you have one vote. If you're one of the leaders, here Pablo Garcia, the scientist, Li Liang, the governor, Xiapan, you will have 2 votes. As Alberto Mazzitelli, now if you manage to become at a later stage our revered elder, if your character in-game becomes our revered elder, you'll have 3 votes, okay? So you'll have 3 votes. So you can see that there's a lot of people to choose from, and quite frankly, I enjoy people that are members, of course, of the channel, and of course I usually prefer subscribers over people that are not subscribers. So. That's the thing. Otherwise, there should be always enough leaders for everyone. Right? That's the couple of leaders that we currently have. So, have a good look. Maybe you want to become one of the leaders. Maybe not. Anyways, this is the amount of people we have. This is their age. So we have Li Liang, 46. Agrarian upbringing, Gail Bradbrook. We will use her probably in the future colonies, or we might mix it up. She's getting unity from priests, so that's pretty good. She's our former leader, so she might have a chance in getting re-elected one day. She has a lot of free time at the moment, but we'll keep her. Oh, that's another thing. I promise not to just dismiss leaders. That's not something we'll not do because of the roleplay. Then we have Yasin Al-Abdal. Is Voidcraft, computing expert, leading physics research. Luigi Olivieri is commanding a ship as a roamer and stubborn. Then we have Lorenzo Aguera, who is maniacal and is also leading a ship. Clémence Gagnon, she's a spark of genius, leading society research. Sandra Sullivan, leading engineering research, is also a spark of genius. Pablo Garcia, as we've seen, he's also one of the faction leaders. He's a particles expert, leading a ship. Viktor Skobelev, also leading a ship. A materials expert and scientist, Vasily Tichy, also leading a ship, statecraft expert, and Xiapan, also a leader of a faction, busy commanding a ship. So you choose one of these characters, and if it's still possible, then we'll choose them. If we have too few of them, we will recruit more, but we'll not recruit just so someone can't choose someone. So you have 1 vote regardless if you have a leader or not. So you have a guaranteed vote. How does it work now with the factions? So we have the Survival Guardians here. Survival Guardians are the militarist faction. Currently have 49% approval because we don't have oppressive subjugation policy. So if they win, we will choose to fulfill the oppressive subjugation policy, and will become more militarist. So what do we want to do? So Alberto Mazzitelli, the revered elder, is our leader. So he's a charismatic fortifier. So he wants to upgrade space stations as a personal agenda, and he wants to stay expansionist and expand really a lot. So that's our general government. He's the head of state. But this, of course, influences also the survival guardians, right? They want to support him with that because he's the leader. So what does he want to do? Survival guardians. First, wants to grab the Gaia world here. Expansion. It's a great planet. So then we want to bring the fleet to full strength. That is currently 20. So then he wants to focus on strategic expansion. So not necessarily grabbing more planets, but securing as big as an area as possible. Then he wants to make a next planet an army planet. So this might become an army planet, army-focused planet. I've told you about the specializations for planets, right? You can have a specialization in one of the district things, and then you usually choose to get more buildings for another specialization, the advanced specialization, and he would like to have an army planet, and that it's likely to be that the Gaia world will become an army planet. And it's also, he feels good about this because it's also close to the new border with the Gamma aliens that are around here. Then as a research focus, he in general, once we can choose new things here, I mean apart from the special projects, he wants to make corvettes great. That is his focus, and he wants to have good warships, so good corvettes. And he wants to make defensive space stations. So his focus is not like a good trade system, but he wants to make good space stations at the borders that we'll have to other empires. So once we have a border to another empire, he usually wants to have a good space station there. And he wants, if we can, to build all the space stations we can. And he also wants to make a military or prison world if possible. So Gaia world could become a prison world. That would be crazy, but it could be possible. At least it should be focused on military to expand our naval capacity. So that's what the survival guardians and our revered elder want. They're also delivering us some good unity. Our next faction is the Scholars of Gaia, led by the scientist Pablo Garcia, who is up for grabs. So what do the Scholars of Gaia mean? They are the spiritual faction. They want organic life, so they don't want robots. They want pious polity, many spiritualists. And they want homogeneity. That's many spiritualists. Pious polity is basically also having temples and such. Things like that, making spiritual choices. But beyond that, he has an additional agenda, because that's okay, but that would be a little bit boring. So he also wants to grab the Gaia planet. Why? To protect it. So that's another reason for it. So he wants this maybe to be a spiritual center. So he wants it to be a unity-focused planet. Then the research focus on him would be to make the planets more habitable for us. So habitability, for example, but not really terraforming, because he wants to preserve the planets. Then he wants to build 3 more temples somewhere, be it on the Gaia planet or on our usual Unity planets that are coming up. So beyond the temples on Earth, we want more temples. Then he wants an expansion focused on planet grabbing. So he wants to grab as many planets as possible to be able to settle them and preserve them later on. So he wants to make it possible that we settle, or that we make outposts in all the planet systems, and then as quickly as we can settle there to preserve the ecosystem. so that we are guardians of these planets. So if you choose Scholars of Gaia, this is our focus. Of course, we'll also build some military ships, some things, but that's the focus that we want to fulfill. Leader is Pablo Garcia, so that's the spiritualists. Now we come to the Equality Circle, led by scientist Xia Pan. You can also choose her, she's still up for grabs. And you can see all the issues that they have. They want a benevolent subjugation policy in general, because they want all people to be equal. So also the subjects, they want anti-stratification, not a stratified economy. They want reproductive freedoms for everyone in our empire. They want free movement, and they want to be anti-autocratic, nominally elected government. So they don't want to mix in with the elections. What they also want to do for us is we want to have as them the Gaia planet as a great home for our people, maybe even a resort world if possible. Then we want to have a research focus here on medical development, happiness, equality. So gene clinics are just along the way. They want gene clinics everywhere. They want a better life for the common people. So gene clinics is one way to reach that. And other similar technologies. Then they have an additional thing. They want to set other rights for the people. So we're currently living under decent conditions, but they think social welfare, or if we can afford it, utopian abundance would be something that we should choose. So social welfare, it is at the minimum. So that's what they want to introduce for everyone, or even utopian abundance, because they think it would be good for society to have that for everyone, and it would also give us more unity, more research points in general. So the last faction, with the lowest size here, but you're still influential, don't get fooled, is Governor Yi Liang, still up for grabs. So that's the Galactic Cooperation Council, that's the Xenophile faction. So they want all these issues to be resolved in their favor. And in addition to that, Yi Liang wants to focus on food farms and space stations, because he's agrarian, and trade range in space stations. So he's a big supporter of space stations for trade. So for trade also with other aliens. So he wants to grab the Gaia planet to make room for refugees. And he wants to be friendly with any aliens we meet. He wants to try to get an early defensive pact as quickly as possible, at nearly any cost. So research focus should also be diplomatic as possible. What does that mean? There are a couple of technologies that will enable us to get more envoys, for example, and these then will be chosen at any condition. So you can cast your vote for one of the factions and their agenda. I've also summed up the agendas in the description below. The winning faction will get their agenda fulfilled as well as we can. You can grab one of the in-game leaders, including the faction heads, rename them. I will rename them after you, but then you'll be bound to support their factions. You have, from now on, 3 days' time to do that. You cannot grab the current ruler, because the ruler cannot be just grabbed. If you manage to become one of the faction heads, or choose one of the faction heads, then you'll have 2 votes in the commons. That's important. So if you your character manages to become the ruler, then you'll have 3 votes in the commons. So otherwise, you'll have 1 vote in the commons, and there's also a poll, and like an anonymous poll, where you can also vote. Like, for example, if you don't want to comment for some strange reason, then just don't do it. If you comment, you can make additional proposals for whatever should be in the next faction agenda. But I beg you to do that after our next period is over. So Usual, we will vote every 15 years. So after 15 years, see that in game here, when we're reaching 2230, think about something and that you want, like think about which faction you want to support: the Survival Guardians, the Militarists, the Scholars of Gaia, the Galactic Cooperation Council, the Equality Circle. If you're the leader of that, you support them automatically, of course. You can make proposals for them. Like, for example, I want to grab a special system. I want to have like a militarist space station. I want to have an army planet. I want to have a prison planet. And write that below, and if I think that's okay, then I'll add it to the agenda, and we'll vote on that agenda later on. So you can, to some extent, to some big extent, I think, influence what we'll do. So we'll vote on that every 15 years. In the later game, it can be maybe shorter periods. When there are significant reasons to change our strategy, or I might take 1 or 2 years longer when there is like another significant event coming, like something big gets finished, and then there's a usual point. But in usual, you can say like it's 15 years. After 15 years, we will have another faction agenda. This is a little bit more, less often than we have elections here. But that's okay, like factions are like more the long-range goals, and rulers usually have the short-range goals. As you can see, we have that urbanizer, he wants to build districts. Well, we did that. There we go. So, welcome to the party system. Welcome to our spiritual democracy that you can influence. If there are new factions, we will adapt to that. If there are other things to do, we will adapt to that, and we will integrate it in our voting system. So let's have fun together by going for a really, really democratic game on Grand Admiral non-scaling with Crisis 25. So think hard whom you want to support, and be thorough. It's about the survival. The stakes are high. And if you make the proposal that brings doom on us, shame on you. Well, if you make the proposal that saves us, then you're the savior. Thank you for watching, and happy gaming to you. Join a faction and vote. It's all summed up in the description below. Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. And let's have just a little overview. Here's the Gaia planet that I'm always talking about. A strategic expansion, as I've already told, means that we grab as many systems as we can by occupying like spots here. For example, an upcoming strategic expansion is taking all these stars until here, because then we grab this star, and this whole lot of stars will be inaccessible to opponents. Currently we've found opponents here, or friends who we don't know yet. So we want to get into their direction, and if we can, we want to grab the Gaia world. In the Whispering Garden Nebula, it would be even better to grab the Fangnauer system, because then we would have that strategic expansion here. We would also have to grab Nodox then, because the AI will hop over one system when expanding, but not over two. So getting Galamun would be great, or Galamun, Fangnor, and Nodox would be, for one example, of the current strategic expansion. It's a confrontational one. If we stop at Galamun, it's rather a friendly one, right? So, but there's enough room to grab still, and we'll see what we can do. What we're currently researching, you can see here. Research station output, gene clinics, geothermal. We're currently in a peace economy, but now opponents or friends are coming up, and it's important maybe to get some military going. Getting that to full, getting that to full. maybe getting some armies, we don't know. It's up for you to decide. Vote for the Survival Guardians, the Scholars of Gaia, the Galactic Cooperation Council, or the Equality Circle, and make us a great, great democracy and make us ready for survival. Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immoral Khan signing out. See you soon, and have a great time until then.